Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little review of the new Devil Wears Prada 2, so the sequel to The Devil Wears Prada, which I didn't realize until I went to see this movie that it's been 20 years. I didn't realize it had been that long. Holy smokes. I remember going to the Blockbuster near my old house with my sister on a weekend and renting Devil Wears Prada and seeing it with my sister and getting a big bag of popcorn twists because that's what we used to do 20 years ago. Holy smokes. I'm actually very excited to see this movie. I did see it when it first came out, like early May. But obviously, May is Star Wars month. I'm actually filming this Star Wars month, hence why I still have Star Wars ears up on the wall. But it is still technically Star Wars month, so this video won't be up for a bit because I can't break tradition. I can't not post Star Wars videos all of May. So sorry that this video is a little late, but I mean, at this point, all my videos are late. The Devil Wears Prada 2. Let's start. So this movie follows our favorite four people from the first movie: Andy, Miranda, Nigel, and Emily. It's mostly Andy and Miranda, where I feel like the first one was a lot more Andy and Emily, and then Miranda was just the most fabulous side character in the world. I mean, obviously not a side character because Meryl Streep is never a side character. I feel like Emily had more of a part in the first one than she did in this one. She was definitely like the least used character of the four in this particular film, which was a little disappointing. I mean, I was still very happy Emily was in this movie because I love Emily Blunt. The main person I was very happy to not see in this movie was Andy's boyfriend from the first movie. No hate to the actor whatsoever, but your character in the first one, I forget his name, Nate, I want to say it was, you're a dick, and you do not deserve Andy whatsoever. So I'm very glad he was not in this movie. So this definitely is more Andy and Miranda's story more than anyone else in this. Nigel does have a pretty big role in this, which I loved because I think Nigel's my favorite character out of the four of them. I mean, all four of them are iconic. All four of them have such iconic lines from the first ones that to this day, myself, my friends, we all quote. But Nigel is definitely my favorite of the four of them because Stanley Tucci can just do zero wrong. I will say you don't have to have seen the first one to understand what's going on. If you have the gist of it, you would understand. However, there are a lot of callbacks to the first one in this, which I thought were super adorable. My friend that I went to see this with had mentioned that she very recently rewatched the first one in preparation for us going to see this. And she was saying, I'm very glad I did, because there were certain things, not that they were super like relevant to the plot or anything like that, but just like little Easter eggs and moments that would bring you back to the first one. One example being Andy is walking through a park and there's a whole bunch of vendors selling things along the park. And we see a man selling custom belts that he's made, and he's holding up two blue belts that are obviously very different, and he's just holding them up to a woman looking at the table, and that was obviously a callback to the first one that I thought was super adorable. So something that is just going to be something off in the background that you're maybe not going to pick up on if you haven't seen the first one. But if you have seen the first one, there's a lot of little details like that that I thought made this movie super duper cute. What I've been saying to people, anyone who asks me my thoughts on this, is my initial thoughts are this movie was really cute. Similar to several other sequels that have come out in the last little bit. Was it necessary? Not really. But it was still cute and it was still a fun story. I do have one main criticism about this movie, but that is very much a personal preference for myself, and that is that Andy very much takes the role of, don't worry guys, I can solve this kind of a personality trait, and I can't stand when characters do that in movies or books or TV shows. So you guys may remember at the beginning of the year when I did my like favorites of 2025 video, I talked about the TV show Camp Cretaceous. I said that I had filmed a video reviewing it and I was going to post it eventually. I am no longer posting that review for personal reasons. I'm not going to get into that in this video, definitely not, but I will not be posting that video for personal reasons. But one criticism I did have of Camp Cretaceous was that the one main character in that show was very much the type of person where it was like, don't worry guys, I can solve this, I can do anything, you don't need to help me, I can do it all on my own. And I don't like that. If you're gonna have a character like that, they at least need to have a moment where they learn that no, they can't do everything on their own and they do need to ask for help. And in particular, Camp Cretaceous, the TV show Owl House, and this movie, there are characters that are like that, and it drives me bananas. I don't like that characteristic unless they learn from it. My biggest example being, I'm going to mention it always, but my favorite TV show, Amphibia. Anne is very much like that at the beginning of the show, but she learns very early on that no, she can't do everything on her own and she does need to ask for help. Hence why Amphibia is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. In Owl House, Camp Cretaceous, and now in The Devil Wears Prada, there's characters in Devil Wears Prada specifically. It is Andy who is very much like, don't worry guys, I can figure this out, I can solve everything, which is funny because at the beginning of the movie, she's trying to nail down a specific person that for Runway to interview. And this is a very high profile person who, after having a very tragic recent event in her life, has refused any sort of interviews. Andy is calling every single person she can possibly get in touch with to try to nail down an interview with this person. And she does it. She's able to get it and she does a really good job. It kind of made no sense to me when then all of a sudden she was like, don't worry, things are going wrong, but I don't need any help. I will figure it out. It also didn't make any sense that she was so committed to fixing this problem when she was like, I'm sorry, the least involved with Runway. I will talk about it a bit more and make more sense of it. I will do a little bit of spoilers. I'll get into that a little bit more there, but just know that that was something that happened in this movie that really lowered my rating of this movie, just because I hate when characters have that characteristic about them. It really drives me crazy. And like I said, when they don't learn from it, it makes it even worse. And did Andy learn from it? Kind of, not really. I'll explain again in spoilers. But overall, like I said, I did think this movie was very cute. I was giggling a lot throughout this movie. I just don't think this movie is going to have such iconic lines like the first one did. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 20 years, people will be quoting this movie like people now quote the first one. Just, I couldn't pick up on anything that I thought was super duper quotable like the first movie. Also, one thing that I didn't like, but it does make sense for the era and the times we are in, but Miranda was not mean enough in this movie. And I mean, it kind of made sense, and they kind of talked about it in the sense that I guess she had a lot of people going to HR about her. People are like, oh, you can't say that anymore. She would start to mention something about a body positive model, and then she would have another comment and her assistant would be like, no, can't say that. And so I get it. It makes sense with these times that we're in. It definitely took away from the devilness, hence The Devil Wears Prada. So, I mean, it made sense, and it was definitely a more modern and fitting story. They also mentioned things that nobody buys the actual physical magazine Runway anymore. It's an app now that people can download, and no one is going to read said article because they're just going to keep scrolling as they're peeing. The whole premise of the first movie was just how mean Miranda is. And I mean, it was a different story. We don't need two stories of Meryl Streep just being so mean. And she was still mean, but just not as mean. And that's the best part of the first movie, is just how mean she is. I am going to talk about my one spoiler now and my biggest criticism I personally had with this movie. So if you haven't seen this movie yet and you don't want to be spoiled, then thank you for watching this video, but this is their time to head out. But if you have watched this movie, or if you don't care, then let's continue on. So what's going on in this movie is that the magazine is being essentially downsized, and so many people are gonna probably get laid off and fired, potentially even Miranda. And the whole reason Andy is there and Andy is back at Runway is because there was a scandal and they needed a journalist to write an article to kind of make up for the scandal that they were involved in. And so Andy does that, and she stays on at Runway as a journalist. And my criticism with her being so gung-ho about saving the magazine and like saving Miranda and Nigel and stuff, it doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, you just got there. Like, why are you so committed to this magazine that you actually don't even care that much about? It's a job. She takes the job because literally at the very beginning of the movie, she gets fired from her current job. So she takes this because she needs a job. And so now for her to be so gung-ho to save the magazine, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know obviously she wants to keep a job, but it's like, you just got here. You don't even care about fashion. It just didn't make sense that she was so invested in trying to save it. That whole thing just didn't make sense to me. Like, I understand her wanting to keep her job, and also she started to feel sorry for Miranda and stuff, but still, like, it was like, girl, you just got here. Maybe let Miranda figure this out, let Nigel figure this out. And she was so worried, like, why does Miranda not care? And it's like, why do you care so much? That whole characteristic that they put on characters sometimes, it just drives me crazy. I don't like when characters act like they can fix everything. Andy literally says things like that. Like, she literally goes to Miranda's townhouse and is like, don't worry, I have a plan. And Miranda's like, stay out of it. But no, she does not stay out of it. She tries to fix it and it backfires, and it ends up being Miranda's plan that saves the day. Yes, it's Andy who follows through with the plan and figures everything out and like dots all the I's and crosses all the T's, and she does it, but it was Miranda's plan. That was my little bit of a review of The Devil Wears Prada 2. If you saw on Instagram, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I did like it. I just, like I said, it just feels like another unnecessary sequel. It's still cute. I think I've said that about so many sequels that have come out, like Freakier Friday, this movie, Moana 2. They're cute. They didn't need to be made, but I still enjoyed going to see them, and I'll still probably buy them and own them. That is going to be it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday, and I would love to have you here. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye, everybody.